Hey guys, what's up? I know I haven't been on YouTube in a while, but as y'all know, there is a hurricane happening today and we're not meeting tonight, so I thought, well, I'll just make a little devotional video for you guys, and I hope it speaks to you. I hope y'all are all doing okay. Yes, I am videoing in the midst of a hurricane. It's alright though. I don't have anything else to do, right? So I hope you guys can take a few minutes and really dig into the Word with me, and maybe even take some extra time and read a couple chapters as you work towards your team challenge. So, hi Steely. So I want you to Matthew chapter 14 verses 22. This is Jesus walks on water. Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. So to put this into context, he had just fed the 5,000. You can see that before this passage. And so he needed to get alone with God. There's many times in Jesus's ministry where he would just go up on a mountain and go in solitude and pray and talk to his Father. That's just as important as it was to heal people and to feed people and perform so many miracles. Silence and solitude was just as important to Jesus. So anyway, he's up on this mountain, and then when evening came, he was there alone. But the boat by this time was a long way from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. So the disciples are in this boat, and it's not looking like good weather. I don't know that it was a hurricane, but it was still pretty scary probably. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It's a ghost," and they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." So you have to picture this. There was a lot of fog. It was nighttime. It was raining. The seas were just crashing everywhere. It was hard to see. And so they couldn't really see Jesus very clearly at that time. And Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying to him, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." So a lot of times people will talk about this passage as a reference to doubt, and that's certainly something that we should be talking about with this passage. But I want to go deeper and look at this from a little bit of a different view. I want you to picture yourself as one of the disciples in the boat. What would you do in this situation? So you see something that resembles a ghost out on the water. Would you be like Peter and speak up, or would you sit in the back and say nothing? Because it's interesting, there were 12 disciples in this boat, but only one of them had the courage to speak up and address the situation. So what would you do? Would you be a leader, or would you sit back and wait and see what happens? If I was being honest with myself, I would probably say, "I choose you, Peter. You go figure out what's going on, because I'm a little scared right now and I don't want to step out and figure out what's going on. You go. I choose you." But should we really be like that, or should we be bold and be willing to take risks? We should have that trust in Jesus that he's going to work everything out, right? Because he says he will in the Bible. He says, "Don't be afraid." And so we should be more like Peter. But also, something else about Peter that I really like is that he questioned it, but then he trusted in Jesus. So he said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And so Jesus said, "Come." So Peter asked for a sign, and Jesus delivered. And then Peter stepped out on the water, which is pretty brave, because he still didn't know, like, he couldn't see Jesus out there. It was still like a blob. I don't know. But if that would have been me, I would have been like, Jesus, come in so I can see you just a little bit, and then I'll step out. I really need to know that it's you there and not something else. And so, but Peter didn't do that, did he? He trusted in God. He had faith in Jesus. And I think sometimes Jesus or God is calling us to do something that's outside of our comfort zone. He's calling us to walk on water. Maybe, you know, he's calling us to this big vision. Maybe for you, it might be sharing God at school more boldly. Maybe it's stepping out on faith and doing some sort of missions project. Maybe it's coming to church more regularly. Maybe it's serving others. Maybe it's making up with your enemies and forgiving them. Maybe you just want to grow closer to God in this season. And a lot of times God will give us a glimpse of the vision that he wants us to do, and he'll lead just a little bit. He'll just give us a little piece of information, and we have to be bold enough as Christians to say, okay, you're leading me to this. This is new. This is out of my comfort zone. I've never done this before, but I'm going to trust you to make it happen, that you're going to keep me safe through this. And maybe it will be hard, but I know that it's for your glory. And so we need to be more like Peter. You know, we're not always going to know the whole story. We may not ever know the whole story until we get to heaven and we can ask him. But we have to go out on faith with just the little pieces that God gives us sometimes. And so I want to encourage you to reflect and maybe just tune into God today and pray about something that he's called you to do, because I believe that every day, you know, whether it's something big or whether it's something small, we're called to do something for his glory, right? As Christians, if you have a relationship with God, then every day you're going to be put in some kind of situation where you're going to be able to glorify his name by the way that you act. And so I just, I want to encourage you guys to really figure out, what is God calling me to do in this season, and how can I step out on faith and listen to him? Because in life, you're never really going to know what's going to happen next. You're never going to have all the information. You just have to go with your gut. You have to go with what God tells you to do, and you have to trust in him. So anyway, I hope this storm isn't too bad for you guys. Of course, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. And I look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday. Have a good day.